Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. I was going to say good afternoon, but good morning to everybody. We're out here in Los Angeles at Riders of the Future Awards. We've been interviewing winners all night long, and we have Desmond with him. He's going to introduce himself in just a second. Remember, guys, y'all hear me talk about Riders of the Future a lot. I know every now and then it feels like we do an information when we do the live show, but we want people. It doesn't matter what age you are. The winners last year were from 16 to 68. The winners this year are 17 to 72. So you can be any age. So if you're old like me and you don't think you can win, that's BS because you can win. And if you're a little young pup that's, oh, I'm too young, nope, you can also win. And believe it or not, there are a lot of first time winners and second time winners out this year, and it's amazing to me. Write a good story. I forgot how many words it is now, 15,000, I think. Up to 15,000, if I remember.
17.
Right. Oh, 17? 17,000. And that's when Amelia told me that the first time. I said, "It's a freaking novel. What do you mean? It's not a short story." And she's like, "No, no." I'm like, yeah, it's a novel. But Desmond, go ahead, properly introduce yourself.
All right, Joe, man, thanks for having me on. Hey, Radio Land, what's up? This is Desmond Astaire. I wrote Gallows for Volume 38 of Writers of the Future. It was a first place winner for quarter four.
That's pretty good. Tell them a little bit about the story. Not a lot, but enough to get them to go buy the book.
Sure. So it's a bartender has to determine if his customer is a time traveling tourist that an FBI sting is looking for.
Oh, I think I remember that.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, because like I said, I was half asleep last time I read it. But what's funny about that? I was on my second read through. I think I was like five stories in or something. And the guy sitting next to me in the airplane bumped me, and my glasses went down and under the seat. Well, I'm 727, so I got them. I said, they're like this wide. There's no way I could get to the glasses to the plane land. And I was pissed. I wanted to finish reading them over the second time. I was like, this is ridiculous. I told the stewardess, I said, man, let me get a bigger plane or something. She started laughing. She said, yeah, I know what you mean. This is ridiculous, too. So, first off, what made you think you can write? I mean, I always ask that question because sometimes I get the weirdest answers. So I want to know what the motivation was something from childhood.
Dirty, stinking pain. I just take all my emotions and experience and kind of use it as
See, that's good. I like
oh,
you.
man, it's throw down black and white words. So yeah, it started as uh, I heard you mention it before, just a way to take yourself out of the world that we're living in. There's nothing like escaping into a good story. So as a kid, that's what I started to do, is make stories, my little solace. And then when I was probably 13, 15 or so, I realized you could write short stories and send them to anthologies and get them published. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I can do this for a career. And 20 years later, learned a little bit, practiced a little bit, picked up, I hope, a little bit of skill along the way. And then
You got to have some skill because you won. So
landed Writers of the Future. So I think we're off to a good start.
and they get a lot of submissions every year.
Thousands.
Yeah, so
Thousands a year.
it's not they submit them four times a year, and there's a lot of people submitted. And it's not just it's not just here; it's worldwide.
That's right.
And it's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons John and writing so much because I opened up the audience base a lot bigger. And I told him, I said, I'm gonna help y'all open it up. I'm sure y'all want other stuff out there as well. And because some people telling me they found it this way or that way, or somebody's told them about it, or so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I know when as a kid, they always used to have that little. In all these books, they'd have that little mouse-looking thing. They would ask you to redraw it and submit it.
Oh yeah.
And that was a long time ago. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and that was the way. And then it's changed since then. But I've had so many people tell me about these. Oh, submit, and it's going to be blind draw, and you don't have to pay anything. And then all of a sudden, somebody will come and say, "Oh no, they want $500 to submit the story."
Mm-hmm.
But it is blind draw. I said, no, that's not Writers of the Future. They don't want anything. I think the only thing that makes us pay for is the tuxes. And other than that, and they let your family come out and come to the event and all, and which is nice. There's a lot of crying families last year. It was great. Don't get me wrong, it was great. It was nice to see, for a change, just all that happy emotion. It wasn't crying of horror, it wasn't crying of fear, it was just happiness. And everybody's happy, the winners were happy, the families were happy, the people involved were happy. And I'm still weirded out, and I know you've seen all these people. Author Services, the group over there is fabulous.
Oh my gosh, they're great.
And I love them. I just like to go over there and flirt with them, to be honest with you. No, they're just a great bunch, they just the first time I met them, they were treating me like I'm saying, I'm just a person, right? Nobody's special, and still come back this year the same way. Um,
Very generous,
yes,
very kind, very welcoming, like just top notch people.
Galaxy Press is the same way. I'd interviewed John 4 or 5 times before I met Emily, and then he started bringing Emily on with him, and we talk and talk and talk. And just recently, they came down to New Orleans and said, if you walk when you walk in and you see a desk in there, you're going to see a little green plaque there. That's from Ross. That was for around Hubbards' last birthday, this past April, or past March. And they came down. We did an interview. I took them out to dinner. We hung out. The bad part is I wanted to bring them to the New Orleans studio, but it was in the middle of being torn down, so that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, one of the guys, we run an office building. One of the third owners decided that he had been taking over a lot of film. He decided he wanted to take over the whole section of our studio. I can't argue with him. It's his building. So he just packed up all his shit. And he said, well, John, I didn't think you were using it. I said, what do you mean? I said, it's a backup station. I said, the one in Mississippi, when it goes down, the one down here picks up automatically. I said, if anything happens, I got one station. I said, stop. He said, oh, we'll give you this office. I said, you know what? Now don't worry about it. And I said, I'm just going to move it somewhere else. And he got offended. I'm like, well, you're getting offended. I should be the one offended. Yeah, but it's part of the business. People grow and growing pains.
Semper Gumby, right?
So short stories, novels?
A little of both. Started with shorts. Started dabbling in the longer novels. Went back to shorts for this in about 2017. I think I did about 6 entries, 4 short stories, and then this was my phase 1 plan for making a professional career. I did not think about what phase 2 would be. So when I got that call in December that hey, you're coming to Hollywood for the workshop, I thought, oh boy, I got to figure out what's next now. Yeah. So I'm shopping around those short stories to the professional markets now, and then slowly started dabbling into the longer form stuff in hopes of really just building a good portfolio to land at a publisher, because it's all about being marketable. Which is a huge thing about getting to be a part of this workshop and a part of this organization, is that there's some prestige that comes with being a part of this, not to mention getting to learn from some of the best in the business of the spectator.
Yeah, it's some serious authors here, and there's some serious illustrators here. And what's great about it is everybody here is award-winning money making.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're making good money. It's not like they're playing around. They're making decent money. I was remember, I forget how many books Tim said he had out, 9 or 10 yesterday. I heard him talking about. He just writes good, it's like when I was talking about the guy from Dune last year. I still was very skeptical about him. Mm-hmm. John was in shock when I told him I'm going looking for him. I was like, Joe, I'm like, hey, F's up Dune, we're going to have a problem, man. So when a few sci-fi I can watch anymore, but he did a pretty good job with it. It's a decent movie, but you'll see like at the awards, there'll be a lot of different people there running around. The guy who plays Johnny Depp, excuse me. Yeah, let's have us get out of here. The guy who plays Johnny Depp on Shooting on Drum Street, he was there with his wife last year. They were great. They wouldn't even come out to dinner with us 2 years. They told me to come back this year and go hang out with them a little bit. And what surprised me is how many of these people, and even some of the more famous people, were so approachable. Because usually when you think of Hollywood, you think of snobby, conceited, bodyguards, stay the hell away from you people.
Sure.
It's not really how it was at the Gala. There was a lot of good people there. Wasn't no slapping anybody or nothing like that. No Will Smith, Chris Rock, or anything like that going on. Man, it's this, work with I got a friend who works as a lieutenant down at LAPD. He asked his captain if he could investigate that thing, because when he was there, he said, I couldn't hear the slap in the audience. He said, I could hear it on the video, but I couldn't hear it in the audience. And he said, then when I heard it in the video, it sounded more like slapping, like a sound effect slap, like hitting a piece of steak. So he pulled the clip out and put it in slow motion. And you see it from the straight on shot. It looks like Chris does this and his hand does this. Uh-oh. And I'm like, well, that looked good. I said, are you sure before you go get your ass sued? And he's investigated. But at this point, I don't think it really matters. It's just one of the things. But that's a perfect example for writers and people to look at for winners. It's just not the way to act. No, your wife got offended enough. It's not the way to act. You know, I mean, I'm not letting anybody talk about my wife, and there's a couple times I would have probably decked somebody if she would have let me, but there was another way to handle that. You know, you could have just said, hey, like you said, Chris, don't get her out of my mouth. He could have just said that, but no. So he hurt himself. Man. That's a good thing though for everybody getting in these fields to know. Keep your hands off everybody, or it's going to cost you financially. Because I doubt he's going to see any real big deals anymore. Chris is making money hand over fist now, and Will's not. So.
Yeah, eye for an eye. I don't think it really works out. I think the world needs a little bit more kindness in it.
Yeah, you can put. I'm glad we brought that up because when you do guys in the future, they do have limitations on what you can submit as far as bonds and sex goes and stuff like that.
Yeah, there would be a PG-13.
Yeah, they want a bunch of core in it. Any zombie stuff coming out here? You worry about any zombies?
Me? No, that not my forte. I'm more of a sci-fi type of guy.
Thank God. I don't want to see any more zombies. I'm not a big fan about zombies to start off with, but man, come on. They're just like everywhere. It's like this mermaid thing that's going around. Like, what the hell? There's no stopping people. Find something real right about it. I said mermaids are cool, but I mean, that's not going to make it big series out of it. Stop. There's a lot of art in that way too. I don't know what's up with that. So next album.
So yeah, I'm working on a little something right now that deals with a misfits place in a far future world where humanity has evolved into 4 different subsects that are very compartmentalized, and this kid is an outlier. He doesn't fit into any of them, genetically speaking. So there's some of that going on.
That's good. That can carry truth in today's society. So that's definitely well accepted because you said 4, so you're not limited to anybody. That could be well accepted.
I hope so. The character is modeled after a neurodivergent, kid who, whose mind sees the world a little bit different, and these 4 cultures want to try to assimilate him into theirs to try to fix him. And I think the thing will be that some people don't need to be fixed. We're all just special in our own way, and the sooner we get on board with that, maybe the sooner we can see a little bit less conflict in the world.
I agree with that. Some people don't need to be fixed. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting story. Oh, let's go back to you. This one, I want you to talk a little bit more about it. 138. Tell me a little bit more about it.
The what?
Tell me a little bit more about the 130. You talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this one leans heavily on taking back control of your life. The main character has his future taken from him by actually avoiding death. So he was supposed to die, but interference from the future allows him to live, and he can't handle that. So it becomes part of his vengeance to help the FBI track down time travelers in our time and basically arrest them, prosecute them, put them in the secret camps in Guantanamo, and then figure out from a anti-terrorism perspective, how do we stop the future from interfering with our present so we can gain control over our existence.
Time travel, I shouldn't say time, more time travel, anything related to sounds good.
I love some time travel.
I do too. There's lots of stories. Matter of fact, in the new Picard, that's what they're doing.
I've heard you got to sign up for Paramount.
So basically, Uncle Q goes back to the past and does something. Now, he's lost his powers in the past.
Oh.
And they take some poor queen from the future, who helps him to get back to the past. It's a little twisty, and they go back to 2024, so it's right around here, and they got to save it because it was a totalitarian world they had in the future. Whatever Q did, that's what it turned out to be. Now, they took a little piece from Star Trek, the first Star Trek. So there's an episode where Spock and Kirk are on Earth. They've gone back in time, and they were trying to stop. They were trying to help with this missile being launched into space, and it had to blow up at a certain point. But there was a watcher. There was a guy from another planet. His unit had been taken off and trying to equip it. They used that future in this one.
All right.
They also been finding back as a new person.
I heard that they're bringing
So
Diamond back.
it's a little. Some people have a hard time with it. It's not that the woman. She's a nice looking woman. She seems pretty decent. I think some people. She's just a different character than the guy we're all used to seeing.
Okay.
She's a little rougher around the edges. She's not like the guy we've seen in the past, or the guy we've seen in the future. She's disgusted with you, and she's disgusted with the world, and she wants to leave. Yeah, when Picard shows up, so it's interesting. She was going to go away, and then Picard told her name, but he wouldn't tell her. So there's an issue there because we know Guy met him way back in about 22.
Right. So there's a little bit of continuity.
Yeah, so now she would recognize Picard, so there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But since it is a twisted, or I don't know what it is, we've got to get in all these sub-universes now, but it makes a lot to keep up with.
The universe is splintering. So that's a problem with the franchises. Is the they want to sell more of the franchise, but it splinters more and more. That's what I like about the Marvel movies. Kevin Feige, had a distinct vision, and they plotted it out, and they're keeping it pretty solid.
I noticed with that they kept it pretty solid. And they added in some modern era stuff. They even broke some wokeness into it without offending everybody, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now this next set that Marvel's doing is going to probably cost them all kind of money. They want to make the girl from the first Thor, which I don't understand. Why not take the Queen woman, the Valkyrie, and make her the new Thor? Because you could believe she's Thor.
So I believe they're taking that was from the comics. So
I remember that.
Which that's something I appreciate from a storytelling perspective, that they seem to pull a lot of the old storylines from comics of the 70s and 80s, freshen up a little bit, give a little bit different spin so that it translates onto the big screen. But at the same time, you're like, whoa, what's happening to Thor? It's a lot of things going to be interesting.
I thought the guys were going to be pissed off, but come to find out, the girls are way more mad about it than the guys. I'm like, well, wait, you know, Thor is hot. This little bitch isn't hot. Thor is hot. I don't want to see her. I want to see Thor. That's why I paid to go to the movie, and I never thought of it. From a guy's point of view, I was thinking, well, but it was funny when she said that, and I've heard quite a few women online now saying, no, they don't want her. So I thought the men were going to be harder against it than the women, but the women seem to be harder against it. They just want their Thor back. They want their hero, big, muscly man out there. This is some little. The girl from the first Thor was just as wimpy as she could be. She's like 5 foot nothing.
Natalie Portman is a small person.
The Hammer's going to like you. I don't even know why the Hammer would like her because she was a little confused in the first Thor. She seemed to be a little whack. I liked her part, but I still say we gotta have female Thor. Let's make it Valkyrie. She's badass. She kicked ass.
Great, strong character with I love the traumatic past that they incorporated into Ragnarok and then them teaming up. Oh, Ragnarok is probably my favorite.
It might be one of my favorites. The last sets just didn't. I guess the very last one just didn't do it for me. It's almost felt like it was rushed, and then you're killing off too many characters. You're killing off Captain America. You're killing off, you're killing off Iron Man. And then you're going to replace him with somebody else, and it's just. And then both the new Iron Man and the new Captain America they're going to make black, which is fine. But you're going to have a hard time selling that. My point to all this is one of the things I always get a lot of positives. I gave a bunch of shit last year about. Why can't we write new characters? What's the one? What's the one they did in Africa?
Black Panther.
That was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
They used good characters that were believable characters, and not another character. Because making Captain America black is going to be hard because he came out in the 1940s. It's just not would have been something that was going to happen. So it's not a realistic approach. As far as what's his name? Iron Man goes, it doesn't matter. He wears a suit, so you can make anybody in there you want to. Because what's his name's gone now? Tony Stark is gone. So this is just a new Iron Man using the suit. That's fine. That's doable. Captain America's going to be a lot harder to sell. And even Iron Man's going to be a hard sell, but Captain America's going to be. But I still don't understand. Why don't we just write new characters for different people? Like, okay, we want to bring women in the Marvel, fine. Write some new characters. We want to bring back the more fun, write some new characters. The problem is I don't think the writers know how to do it.
Well, yeah.
When's the last time you've really seen a new character in either DC or the Marvel universe that hasn't come from the past?
So I think what they're trying to do is really they're taking 40, 50 years of classic comic stories and pressing it into what, well, maybe 20 years of the films, and I think the franchise is being pretty good about staying true to the comic stories, at least in fundamentals. So it might throw off the franchise to, or at least the spirit of the franchise to start throwing in brand new things. But going forward, the comic industry is absolutely in a position to create brand new characters and storylines that reflect
Today's world, that's what they
today's
need to
world.
do,
Yeah.
and that's the way they should be done. I mean, I have no problem with new characters. I'd like to see some new characters actually. It's like it was like when the three new Star Wars came out. They were basically remakes of the first three Star Wars. I mean, they weren't exactly,
Done better.
but they were close. I mean, first we got her on Tatooine. I'm thinking, okay, it
It
just.
wasn't even Tatooine, but we all thought it was at
Oh,
first.
that's true. It was. That's right. It was.
It was, yeah.
That's true.
To your point, yes, it was too close. They should have been a lot more original, but
And I liked her,
I'm
by the
another
way.
one.
See, that's a new character. She
Mhm.
did a fantastic job. And as
She's
a matter of
great.
fact, all three of them did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So we wrote in a new white guy, a new white girl, a new black guy, and they played perfectly. Nobody had any problems with them. It was a good movie. It was good. I just don't understand why we can't see more of that.
Beautiful characters, awful plot.
Awful, I agree with that. I don't know where they came up with them plots. And somebody was bitching the other day about how Luke died. I said, well, that way he died wasn't horrible. I mean, he died saving, saving him. And they had to write Leia out because she had died. They didn't have a choice. She had to go. It wasn't like there was anything else they could do about it. And but now we're sitting in a universe without any of them. So how do you bring a Jedi forward? Big Jedi is basically, oh well, it's not true because that Mandalorian. I apologize. I forgot about Luke. So I guess they can't bring in. I forgot the other girl's name. With the weird things coming out. And I go back and forth on that one.
Yeah. And the whole next phase, they're talking about doing like another set of trilogies that is not revolving around the Skywalker saga. You know, it's like, whew, you're rolling the dice on that. But I mean, they're
Honestly,
experimenting.
why they don't bring like they don't go to one of these planets and find like this long lost child, and then like just like they found him, or just like they found Anakin, or just like they found her. I mean, either way, these are all they can bring them in that way
Mm-hmm.
for some reason because everybody thought she was going to be one of the children of one of the Jedi.
Right.
Especially since she was so good without any training, they really thought that's what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the fans were disappointed it was. Like, what can you do?
Now, that's what I love about fandom is that you definitely saw this in Marvel and you saw this in Star Wars over the last several years. Is on social media, the fans come out with amazing stories and amazing speculation, and then the products come out and it's not. It's like the fans are coming up with better stories than the writers.
And they are. It's just a sad thing. Now, I noticed Marvel's been having problems with the woke universe, but DC isn't. DC has incorporated several gay, lesbian characters. Legends of Tomorrow, half the crew's gay, but yet it's not offensive in any ways. Nobody seems to be aggravated about it. It's on its seventh season, and DC did it without really telling anybody they did it. But something that's weird right now, DC is doing much better television than Marvel is. Marvel's been doing way more movies than DC is. I mean, DC released, we had the two Wonder Woman movie, a couple Superman movies, new Batman movies coming out. But these are just same plots, the same movies, basically.
Yeah, the DC movie
franchise
are struggling. They haven't found their place. But like I said, it's when a product can reflect the world that we live in naturally. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Sarah Lance is a good product. She's intelligent. She's pretty. She's in love with a woman. Nobody seems to have any problem with it. They had straight characters on there, they had gay characters on there, they had a mix of characters on black and white. They somehow or another they put this series together. They did a good job on it and didn't offend anybody. Well, I'm sure it offended somebody.
Someone's always going to be offended.
Right. But for the most part, there wasn't any problems as far as anybody's society was. And I think they've got 17, 18 TV series. They're just killing them off on television. And I think that's why there's not as worried about their movies because they got so many successful TV series. And then Star Wars is coming out, Disney's coming out, and also putting screws on MC with Mandalorian, Boba Fett, a couple other ones that are coming out. They got what's the new one coming out? I forgot now. It's what is it? Right out of my head. But it's just another line the Star Wars train, and those are all going to do well. But those are TV series, those are movies. And I think some of these bigger companies are realizing they can make as much money off the TV as they can off the movies. Or paid for, I should say.
Yeah, between Paramount, between Disney, they're investing heavily in the shows. And I think that's because you can serialize them, you can crank them out with speed and longevity in a way where feature films are kind of similar. You can't necessarily get the same bang for your buck, especially in the post-COVID world where you're not getting those $200 million releases.
That's true. It was funny because Disney just got their ass in a lot of trouble in Florida. And I don't know how they're going to get out of it. They're pulling Disney. Disney had the right to govern itself. The governor suspended it. And all because the CEO has a transvestite son and I guess a gay son. And she wanted to make half the characters there in that standard. And Florida said, no, shut down. And I don't even know why. I didn't think the governor was down there was anti-anything. Maybe he is, or maybe they have another view for Disney. I have no idea what it is. When I heard it, I was like, wait, we're getting a fight about what? What are we doing at Disney? I figured there's something in the story I missed. Maybe she must be doing something crazier than that. Because everybody in Florida got offended. It wasn't just the governor. They were thinking about kicking Disney out of Florida. And Disney brings in a lot of money. It would really cripple Disney if they got thrown out. People don't realize how much their amusement parks generate from, especially in Orlando. That makes as much as any of the movies they have. So they can't. It's more than that. It's a big calling card for them. So I don't know how they're going to adjust it and what they're going to do about it. It just sometimes I see this stuff and I wonder, for people like y'all, how are y'all going to write around this or write through this? Because it really, I can understand being woke. It's in our society. We got to deal with it, but a lot of stories are just not going to pan well through something like that, because it's almost like you're taking a side or something. So I don't know how y'all going to get around that. It's or deal with it. I mean, it's got to be dealt with one way or another, but I just don't know how it's going to be done. And I was talking with Luke Ballman and a couple other people, and they were talking about, incorporating some of the stuff into the stories and how they can bring it in a softer way and just bring it out through the whole story and incorporate it the way it needs to be incorporated. They seem to have a good idea on how they're going to do it, but I'm not sure. I mean, this kind of stuff sometimes just gets stupid.
Yeah, I'm not interested in selling any of my ideologies in any fiction, but all fiction is a reflection of our world in the eyes of the author. So, if themes reflect perspective, naturally, and Dave Farland said something about writing that sci-fi should be written to build a better world.
Yeah, and I had asked him last year, or was it the year before? I asked him if he thought the world was getting thin-skinned, and he kind of did. It's so easy to find yourself in trouble today as an author or a movie maker or an artist with just doing what you do naturally. It's not like the old days where you could write anything you wanted and they would like it or not like it, and that would be the end of it. Now you can find yourself being protested against and all sorts of shit. And it's just, I'm happy that all y'all out there writing. I just, don't see y'all. I don't think writing authors should have to deal with. Let me rephrase that. I don't think fiction authors should have to deal with this. Non-fiction authors, yeah, that's fine. Write a documentary, do whatever you want to. And I'm not against incorporating anything into sci-fi as long as it's done well.
Yeah. It's all about respect.
It is.
If you're respecting your fellow humankind, if you're showing kindness to your fellow people, then we're not going to have a lot of the problems that we're having. I don't think a lot of people realize what it means to actually show someone respect and kindness, even if you walk a different path than them, even if you think differently than them. Uh,
I really think that this generation of writers, and I don't mean age-wise, I just meant like this last 5 or 10 years, people who are really seriously gotten the writing. I think that as we go along, we're all going to be the ones to make a difference.
I hope so.
Out with the old guard and with the new guard. Some of these old timers just can't let go of some of the hate, and they want to write. They know to survive, they need to incorporate certain things into the writing now, but they just can't.
Like Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. Lead by example. Another thing that I think that you and I are both familiar with.
Well, like I said, I was lucky as raised. So for me, like a friend all over the country, for me it was different. I grew up. We didn't have any prejudices. We just weren't raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
And New Orleans has been Black City for a long time. So if we couldn't have got past our differences, we'd already burned the city down.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little any white on black crime in New Orleans. It's almost non-existent. We've all learned how to get along. We have a large gay community, so we all get along there. It's just, matter of fact, you got to watch that. They do Essence Fest is pretty cool. It's a nice group comes in, but they have the gay pride parade. So all I can say is if you don't like nudity, don't go. And it doesn't matter. I mean, there's men and women there, but they're all gay, and they usually just paint themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They go walking through the corridor. I remember I was down there. There's 2 kids. I said, "Dude, you need to leave." He's like, well, I said, "Trust me, you need to leave." These group of guys come walking around the corridor. He's like, "Oh my god!" And I couldn't stop laughing. I should. It's shame for me.
Literal
clothing. I wanted him not to do it. That's been like that for 50 years, maybe 100 years. It's been like that, for some reason, in a place like New Orleans, they weren't persecuted. It wasn't a big deal to be gay in New Orleans. It never has been. Even back in the 1800s, that community still existed in that part of that city. And maybe back then, as long as they stayed in that city, they didn't care. But today, it's not like that. It's this whole different world. And I'm glad to see it change. People are people. I don't think who you sleep in really what matters. I just think how you treat people is what matters.
That is all that matters. How you treat
people. Remember when I was young, I'd say stuff like that. Oh, you're a new age. You need to get the hell out of here. You're crazy. And it's, everybody's not like people. I tell people all the time, I treat people the way I want to be treated. That's just how I am.
That's not the new age. That's the now age. Treat people how you want to be treated.
That's the way it should always be. And then we end up with this shit like what's going on in Russia. Our friend of mine just yesterday said he's going to write a story. He's over there, actually. They are paying so much money for people to go there. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. He's getting, I think it's $2,700 a day.
Wow.
So while he's over there working, he's writing the story as well. He's in the shit and that's well. Mm-hmm. And he sent me a draft the other day. I think it was like the first 30 pages of it. It's sci-fi because it's not the war in its true form, but it's still the gruesomeness of the war itself. Somehow he managed to capture the essence without actually including the war. I'm not sure how he did it, but he did a good job. And I enjoyed reading. I'm sure it's going to do well for him. And if you don't get his ass killed. So that's. I told him. He said, "Kids, I'm gonna keep sending you drafts until I'm done with it. Until if they get killed, at least you'll have the novel." He said, "Just change the name, Joe. Put your name." I said, "That ain't never gonna happen." I said, "I need you to get credit for it." But he's just over there. But so you good? You seem to have a good grasp on where you're going. I like the idea that you're writing from inside. A lot of writers won't admit about writing from pain or from essence or things that they've dealt with through life. A lot of them won't do it. And even though I can see it because I'm really good with people, they still won't admit it. And I don't know why. Somebody asked me one time, said, "I've seen you get angry and ready and do this." I said, "Because I live for myself." I said, "Anything you see me do is part of me." I said, "It's who I am." I said, I treat people the way I want to be treated. I said, and then if somebody treats me bad, I'll treat them bad. I have no qualms with that. I said, but I really want to see the world change. And it has. Since I was born, it's changed quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And my grandma used to tell me the same thing. The world changed quite a bit, and it's going to change quite a bit more.
We got some growing pains, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
But the problem is, and besides a disconnect in our country, there's a real other problem. America and Europe don't seem to be able to drag the rest of the world with them. And that's going to be a real big problem. Russia being gay, you get killed. China being gay, you get killed. India being gay, you get killed. I mean, it's still over 100 countries where you can be in prison or put to death. And that has shown no signs of changing. Uh, there's still slavery around the world. I just,
Well, look at what's happened in the last 10 years. You know, the Arab Spring, the protests in Russia. We may not have direct democracy happening by regime change right now, but we're having influence.
we are, but we're not. The problem really is we do have influence, but we're not standing behind the influence. So, like when we knew the Saudi guy did what he did, we bitched about it, but we said the same thing with the Ukrainian war. We could have stopped this before it started. We just didn't. And maybe you could say weakness of the president or whatever. It was more than that. That for some reason America has gotten to this thing now where we were the world's policeman and we still want to be, but for some reason we seem to be way more standoffish on how we're going to help people. I know it's a political thing, I understand that.
There's some international complications, especially with Ukraine.
Yeah. And I can understand if we got in the middle of Ukraine, Russia might use a nuke, and of course they use a nuke, we're going to use a nuke. And then China might use a nuke, and then Europe will be gone, and America will be gone, and well, a whole other hemisphere will be gone. I tell people all the time, just because you go to hell out of the northern hemisphere, don't mean the southern one won't be there. Because people don't understand. I won a $10,000 bet one time. This guy was telling me, I said, the toilets in the southern part of the world go the opposite way than the ones up here do.
Is that true?
It's true. Yeah, it is true.
Oh.
And it's because if you look at the world, you can watch it in the weather. The top spins this way, the bottom spins this way. The equator is the border, and that's where it changes. So the only way the radiation is going to really get down through is through the convection currents running up and down the coastlines of the ocean, which we have to have. And but it'll be diluted by the time it gets to South America now. So that part of the world can survive quite easily. The rest of us, on the other hand, will be toast. And like Xi Jinping said, he said, well, we can't ever. He was at a conference speaking in China a while back, and he was being asked about nuclear America. He said, we can't nuke America. He said, why? We're scared. He said, no. He said, nuclear America is the same as nuking us. We share the trade lanes. He said, we nuke them, we're nuking ourselves. And it's true.
Mutually assured destruction.
It's because it's like people forgot all the years we had all the red dust from China blowing all around our country. Well, if that were the radioactive dust, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
So we share the same exact thing. Europe is a little below, Russia's a little above, but us and China are right in line with each other. So
it's almost like we live on the same planet or something.
Yes, it's true. But that's what Xi Jinping got nervous about. If Russia was to nuke us, it's like nuking China. And so China, he's been a little standoffish about it, but see, that's going to make a good book for you in the future. Unless we get booked, but it's still make a good book then too. Might not get published right away.
Maybe in stone for future generations to discover.
That's Willie Loose the other day talking about. Oh, all them Russians are really reptilians. I'm like, okay, it works for me. Put it in the book. Make a novel out of it. I said, I can buy it, make a novel. He said, yeah, you didn't see that stuff on the side of Putin's face. I was like, whatever. I said, put it in the book. Put it in the book. Websites?
Yeah, we got the DesmondAstaire.com. And same for the socials. I got Twitter and Instagram. Desmond Astaire. I'd love to connect with any readers and other writers and anyone who's got good vibes, man.
Christopher just wrote in. What you wrote, Christopher? Oh, he said you seem to have a better command of the writers than the other ones tonight. Ooh, okay, well.
Thank you.
Christopher, don't start no shit, Christopher. You don't start no shit, they won't be no shit. No, for some reason he just says that, because we touched topics that we didn't touch with everyone. He can handle a topic. I learned a long time ago, like the topics we were just talking about, there was only 3 posts that I talked about with that last year. These days, only 3. And I put them on the spot hardcore. I didn't need to, but I put them on the spot hardcore. So what would you do with this? How are you going to deal with this? And I put it in a point where it made me sound like I was trying to push them or being a little racist or whatever. So they came out and they said exactly what I said. And Luke started laughing. He said, you set me up, didn't you? I said, yes, I did. He said, God, you told me you were good. But I didn't believe you. And the other two were like, and they realized they had been played. I was like, but Joe, I thought you were just being a hypocrite or racist. I said, if you listen to me, I'm not. That's not who I am. And I said, you can just judge me by my family. No, I'm not that. And I mean, my nephew is as gay as can be. He's a multi-billionaire. He's a billionaire, but still. And he grew up. He was gay his whole life. I don't know if he's gay his whole life. From say 17, he wasn't. And but if you met him on the street, you would know. He's not like playing or anything like that. He's well dressed, well man, well educated. And when you talk to him, he just sounds like the best. And then his husband will walk up on him. It's also a nice kid. Look, that's no hug and kiss. I'm like, oh my God, come on, y'all, get out of here. But I would do that if it's a wife and a husband. Yeah, I mean, come on, get out of my face. I don't want to see that shit. They're going to do something and stuff. But, he's one of them guys that just seems to, he wants to be, he's trying to show people that they're just people. You
We're
know,
all just
we,
people.
we fly into our yacht and go hovering around the Mediterranean.
Well, I don't got a yacht.
Stuff like that. But no, but really, that's what he's showing. He said, he told me one day at a party, he said, I meet all these people and they really like me and they want us to be a lawyer, and then they find out I'm gay. And then all of a sudden they get like, if they touch me, they're going to get AIDS or something. I was like, what? He said, no, Joe, I'm serious.
So was this the 80s again? Or
I
when
thought,
now?
what do you like in 1985? He said, I don't know what it is. And he said, we had this big jacuzzi party and everybody was jacuzzing. And someone found out that him and his husband were there and they were gay. The whole jacuzzi cleared out. I'm like, what the? And so now he picks his friends a little bit different. To each their own. If you're a homophobe, you just need to stay away. I would think by 2022 we'd be past that, but I could be wrong. That's the only thing I think that I've been disappointed about the world is it seems the progression has been much slower than I thought it should be. Not just in what we're talking about now, space travel. I want my flying car. I'm supposed to have a flying car in 2020. I still haven't a damn flying car. I don't have my jets in the house. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, when you look at the predictions of the J curve of where technology is going, we should have a legit artificial intelligence by 2045. So I think we're at the point where you're absolutely right. It feels like things are slowing down for us. Then when you look at we went from the Industrial Revolution to landing on the moon in 60, 80 years, something like that.
Yeah, and that's true. And dealing with NASA, because there are a lot of friends with NASA too. So it took NASA 10 years to develop the shuttle program, which we had 2 of them blow up. It took Elon Musk 5 years to develop the one going to Mars. Right. And he didn't do cheaper, faster, better. He spent the money and did it right. Mm-hmm. So, and I when I used to host Wake Up USA, I used to tell people all the time, if you really want to see the space race, if you really want to see us get into space, privatize it.
Yeah.
And it's we're crazy, Joe. Nobody's going to spend that kind of money. Nobody has that kind of money. Well, back then they did. Today they do. Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos has his own space program. Elon has a space program. Look, McAfee has their own space program. It's one of them. They got the little plane thing that shoots up there. And Elon was smart bringing in 4 people into space. I know Jeff used Kirk, which was cool, but it was a little late. It was a little too late, is what it was. The 4 that went up in Elon's craft were good. They played out real well. And they actually went into space, whereas Captain Kirk just went up and came down. Uh-huh. But Kirk was thrilled out of his mind. I said, he didn't name it Star Trek or Enterprise. What the hell's wrong with you dudes? Your big Enterprise thing. It's probably copyrighted. No, it can't be because it was a aircraft carrier, so it can't be copyrighted. So anybody can use it. I didn't think about that. Paramount can't copyright Enterprise because it belongs to the Navy.
That's right. That's where.
So I don't think you can copyright that. Plus, there's all this stuff. Enterprise this, Enterprise that. Like business class stuff's always been named Enterprise.
Uh-huh. Well, the HMS Enterprise.
Yes. That's true too.
Yeah.
That's true too. So there's a long history of them. There's going to be another long. These ships are going along for a long time to come. But Elon impresses me, and Bezos.
They're powerhouses.
We'll see it. We'll see Mars within 5, maybe 10, depending on which one it is. Elon wants to be there in 5 years, so we'll say 8. NASA's launching their new moonshot. I think it's tomorrow. They're launching the ship. The time to go check it out. They're launching it tomorrow.
Wow. So
they're planning to go back in the moon by 2026. Elon wants to be launching his Mars ships by 2026. The ones that are bringing product in and dropping it off. He wants them to be there. So the way Elon's looking at it, he wants everything to be there for his colony by 2028, and he wants to be there by 2036. And he looks like he's going to pull it off.
Yeah. Crazy time we're living. I imagine they're probably thinking the same thing in the '60s, but how cool is that? That 1969, you had to have competition between two governmental superpowers to get to the moon, and now we have, like you said, private industries that are like, yeah, we'll do this in 5 years. Incredible.
It's the way to go. It is the way I know I'm keeping. So I got to let you get out of here. One more time with the website.
DesmondAstaire.com. That's the website. And then I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Desmond Astaire.
Yeah, now some of these rookies are learning website, social media. But anyway, guys, I appreciate it. We're going to get out of here. It is the wee hours, and it's 2 a.m. here out in LA. So I know anybody out on the West Coast is probably just getting up because it's 5 a.m. Y'all go back and listen to it. For all our friends in Europe, I know it is probably around lunchtime now. For our friends in Australia, it is actually Thursday. I think Thursday, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So, hey, all y'all living in Queensland, all my Aussie friends over there, and all of you little weird aliens that live over there, good morning. But we got to go, guys. Y'all be paying attention. There'll be a lot more interviews coming up. The judges get done on Saturday, so y'all can catch the judges too. And it's important because you've heard Desmond talk. You can see that he knows what he's talking about. He can understand how we're going to address and move forward. You notice I didn't do that with some of the other ones because I wasn't sure if they were ready for that kind of conversation yet. But it's something that all writers and all artists are going to have to deal with. And when I'm saying this, I don't mean necessarily that we're not talking about the liberal woke culture. We're talking about the progression of the human race, which is a different thing. We all have to remember to live together, or we'll all be extinct. And let me make y'all understand this before I go. We're not killing the planet. Okay, the planet has been through many ice ages and many warming effects in its history. We're not killing the planet. We're killing ourselves. Okay, you can't kill Earth unless we put a nuke in the core. Earth's going to be here long after we're dead and gone. And as far as ice ages, and when I was growing up, the ice age was coming in the '70s. Now, of course, it's global warming. You can go either way you want. But just so you know this, global warming always pre-follows an ice age. It's always like that. We get global warming, and it triggers the ice age because it starts creating too much clouds in the atmosphere, and it triggers the ice age. That's how it's always worked. So you don't necessarily go around believing all the bullshit. Just understand it is part of things on our planet. I know everybody wants to blame it on this and blame it on that. And I was kind of with him at first. Oh, yeah, man's doing it. And then we found out that the planets in our solar system are actually getting warmer, too. Well, we can't be doing that. There's no way we can be warmer than Mars or Jupiter or any other thing in the solar system for that matter. We just don't have that kind of technology.
Aliens are doing that.
A lot of people think, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, a lot of people think that Earth was part of the Sagittarius galaxy because it's been deposited in our neighborhood. So there's a bunch of red dwarf stars floating around and we're in the middle of it. Well, that's the Sagittarius galaxy when the Milky Way is eating right now. So a lot of people think that's where Earth came from. They don't actually think we're part of the Milky Way. We are now. But technically, we're the aliens here.
Oh, man.
So that might be why they come to visit our planet, because we are the aliens here, not them.
Oh, man.
So it's a different thing, but it's been signed. They've been talking, going back, fighting over science now for a while, but they tried to disprove it. But the problem is we're right in the center of this big group of red dwarfs. And red dwarfs are creating heat, and they get closer to our planet. So, we can blame whatever we want on whatever it is, we need to knock it out. But somebody said, well, the ozone. I said, y'all do know the ozone holes are just about gone, right? I said, we've actually stopped that, and they're just about completely closed. And they're like, no. I said, oh, yeah. I said, when you're going to get into science, don't follow CNN, don't watch NBC, don't watch Fox. Go read the science for yourself. Stuff like NOAA got in trouble because they were dropping their temperatures down in front of the thruster boosters. So most ships have side propellers on to move back and forth when they're heated because they're on. They caught them doing that. That's what they first said was triggering global warming. Then they found out that the algorithm they were doing said that there was no global warming, that we were in a hiatus. And they did not like that at all. And then the next one that came up was a different one. They're using algorithms to try, and this is my favorite thing. I piss these people at NASA so bad. They're saying, well, these algorithms are saying, I said, I got a question for you. I said, you're telling me you can predict the outcome of the weather on this planet for the next 100 years, but you can't tell me if it's going to rain for the next 4 days. I said, how can that be? I said, really? I said, you can't even do a 10-day forecast, but you're going to tell me what the weather on this planet is. I said, I'm not buying it. I said, whether it's true or not, you're not proving shit because you can't tell me if it's going to rain for the next 10 days. So how are you going to tell me what it's going to be like in 100 years from now? Oh, I get so mad. But it's true. if you were that good and you could predict all of that, then you could tell me how far away it's going to rain, and most of the time there. My wife called me today. You know it's supposed to rain today, didn't I? Said, yeah, I know. And it's just how it is. So somewhere along the line, we need to find what the actual truth is and not what actually makes everybody money. Oh, but anyway, we got to get nice talking to you guys and girls. Yeah, don't write to me. I know you global warmers are going to call. But you can't beat the argument. How are you going to beat that argument? You cannot tell me that the weatherman can predict it, but they can't. They won't even do a 30-day prediction. You can't even find. They can't even predict tornadoes. And they can't even tell you where. Even when they see the hurricane coming, half the time they're wrong. I mean, you can't predict the hurricane. You can't predict, but you're going to tell me how the world's going to be. I'm like, I need something different than that. And then they tried to say that we were getting more hurricanes, and they went back and counted no, and they're not actually getting more intense. I don't know. It's about the same amount we always get every year, and they're like, so that kind of stuff kills them. And then of course, we're getting some in China. Well, the South has actually gotten cooler. Our average summers have dropped by 7 degrees. Even the humidity is now about 10%, and we've had snow in the wintertime 3 out of the last 10 years. But we got global warming, so I'm confused. So actually, it must be global warming in the north and global cooling in the south. I don't know, man. But it's crazy. And I love to fight about it because it's so much fun to argue about it. But again, guys and girls, don't write to me. Write to Michelle DeRoche if it's hate mail, especially Michelle loves to get y'all's hate mail about me. Write to her. Remember, she's not nice when you piss her off. So, right, so Michelle, you always have to write to you because you'll take care of it. She will tear your asses up. Anyway, good night. Y'all stay tuned for tomorrow. We have all the live shows on Wednesdays on tomorrow. It is Wednesday, so it will be let's see, there'll be UFO on the cover, the Outer Realm, the Gray Zone, and Spaced Out Radio. So y'all enjoy. Spaced Out Radio is on actually right now. It's Scott. He's in where's he at? Vancouver, Canada. Sorry, guys. He's another cook. I got a lot of cooks on the station for some reason. But go check him out. He's Spaced Out Radio for another hour. We'll see what he's up to talking about today. And if you're resting on, go to bed, get some rest, and I'll see all y'all tomorrow. Good night.